Hi, Caleb with Brownells here. In today's product spotlight, we're going to be taking a look at the Steiner Optic DBALs. So DBAL stands for dual beam aiming laser. They're primarily used with night vision. So if you're not going to be running night vision, stick around anyway, because knowledge is power, and this is stuff you still need to know. So starting with the A3, this is the kind of, I want to say, flagship as far as DBALs go. It's similar to the ones I used to use when I was in the military. That was the PEC 15, but these are very similar to it, and I think these are actually a little bit nicer in some ways. So I'm going to go ahead and do the full unboxing, take you through all the features of it, and then we'll jump over to the D2 and I'll talk about what's different with that model. So let's get started here. Alright, so you open your box, you got your instructions here, nice foam packaging, and this itself is the DBAL. So if you'll notice here, you have two areas on the front. This is your IR illuminator with a cover there. The illuminator works more of almost like a IR flashlight, if you will, whereas you have your IR laser on the opposite side here. And with that IR laser, you also have a green visible laser, so you can certainly use this without night vision with that visible laser, obviously. But with the IR options, you're going to want to use those with some sort of night vision. So let's talk about the illuminator first. So the illuminator is adjustable. You can turn the knurled knob up top here in the front, and you can adjust that beam, make it wider or narrower. So the range on this actual illuminator is going to be, depending on atmospheric conditions, somewhere around 175 to 250 meters. And on top here, you can move the actual point of impact, if you will, for that illuminator, as well as the lasers. So if you adjust the lasers with these adjustments, you're adjusting both the IR and the visible at the same time. So up top here, you have your fire switch, which you push that button and that activates whatever you have selected, which gets us to the next area. This knob in the back, this very overwhelming group of controls, they're not really that bad, to be honest with you. So this is your switch here. It comes with the screw in the bottom that I removed. This screw is a safety screw. It only lets you use the low power options. We pulled that out so that you have access to the high power options. So right here's the off position. You move it down. That's going to be your low power visible laser. Go down one more. That's your high power visible laser. So if you just need to reach up on the rifle and flip it down, boom, you're at aiming high power. So too easy. And then up top here is going to be all your IR options, and you have quite a bit of options. You have your aiming laser, that's in aiming low, so this is the low power IR laser. You have a dual low power, which is the illuminator and the laser. Go one more, you have a aiming laser in the high power, so you got full power IR laser there. Then you have your illuminator in high power, and then all the way over is your dual high. So the ones you're going to be using the most is probably going to be dual high with night vision, or your aiming high, which is why they put those in the end. So all you got to do is just flip it all the way over and not have to worry about which position it's on when you're under stress or anything like that. Alright, so let's get into actually mounting it on the firearm, which is super easy to do. You have a 1913 base there on the bottom with a throw lever. So you just open that up, and I like to put them right here behind the front sight, and then you simply just close the lever and that locks it down. So you can mount it, I like mounting it on top, you can mount it on the side. Since you want the laser to be as close to the bore line as possible, for that reason I like mounting it on top. But you're going to be off a little bit regardless because it's not perfectly aligned with the bore, just as an optic is sitting above the bore as well. So you're going to want to zero that at whatever distance you're mainly going to be shooting at. And if you're using an optic that's zeroed at the same distance, all you got to do is just go out and match your laser to the point of aim on the optic at that distance, and then it's zeroed. You don't actually have to do any shooting to zero if you're doing it that way, which is really convenient. Now it comes with pressure switches, so let's talk about those. Now unlike the D2, which we'll get to in a little bit, the A3 comes with 2 pressure switches. So I'll talk about the first one here. This one has just one plug-in on it, and this is just a basic pressure switch. And if you notice on the switch, the bottom comes with a Velcro with a sticky side on it. And honestly, if you're like me, you're going to use some other method to mount it. I don't really care much for that method, but it is there if you don't have any others. So whenever you're installing the switch, you notice that there's 2 plug-ins on the back of the A3. The one on the left, if you plug in there, it's always going to give you a visible green laser. So none of the other options here, doesn't matter what option you have it on, you're going to get the visible green. And if you unplug it from that and move it to the right side, then it just acts as an extension of this fire button. So you have to actually have it on whatever option you're going to be using. So we'll unplug that there. Another thing I'd like to point out, whenever you're using either the pressure switch or the fire button, it's momentary. So if you press it, the light's on, you let off, it turns off. If you double tap it, whatever setting it's on is going to stay on for 5 minutes and then auto turn off. Same thing if it doesn't matter if you're using the button or the actual switch itself. So the next switch we'll talk about, this one comes with 2 plugs on it. That does not mean you plug them both into the back of this. You just plug it into either side, and then the other one's actually for your visible light, which obviously isn't included here. So you can run one pressure switch for your visible light and the DBAL, which is pretty convenient. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this one off here, and we'll talk about the D2. So the D2, the first thing you're going to notice is that this one is much larger. I'll pull the A3 out here for comparison. So as I noted before, the illuminator on the A3 is good for about 175 to 250 meters. The illuminator on this one was made to be good out past 1,000 meters. So that's the big feature of this one. So if you're doing any kind of shooting, hunting, tactical operations, LARPing, whatever it is you're going to be doing, if you're going to be doing it within 300 meters, the A3 is the one to go with. If you're going to be doing it further than that, the D2 is a great option. So all the same features really apply other than that big illuminator. But I will point out some differences. Your fire button is no longer on top, it's on the back. And you only have one port to plug in your pressure switch, and it only comes with the single mount switch here. So this one you're not going to have an override for your visible green laser, which it does of course still have. So you'll have to deliberately put it on whatever option you're going to be using. And really that's the only difference, is this one is just a higher power illuminator model. And that is really all there is to it. As far as mounting, you can see here that they mount the same way, except the throw lever on the D2 is on the opposite side. So whether you're going to be getting into night vision or not, this is a good product to have some knowledge on, or these types of products in general. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you use these, or you have a favorite illuminator device, let us know in the comments down below. And if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call on the tech line. We'll be happy to help you out. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.